Since I posted my video on the crash of multiple American F-15 jets in Kuwait, Iran has claimed it was responsible for downing at least one jet. But Kuwait has said that its armed forces accidentally destroyed these American F-15 jets, mistaking them for Iranian planes. Whatever the reason and circumstances, the video of wounded American pilots being forced to eject themselves is pretty embarrassing for the most powerful army in the world. The most powerful army from supposedly the hottest country in the world, as the deranged occupant of the White House may like to proclaim. Anyway, since then, Trump's minion, also known as the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, has addressed the media and made a complete fool of himself. I'm going to play his crazy utterances to prove that Americans are being led by a bunch of thick-headed, unscrupulous, and trigger-happy illiterates. Also, the fact that these moronic creatures have the audacity to utter anything in front of their media shows that even these lunatics know that the American media landscape is now occupied by utterly incompetent and brain-dead individuals calling themselves journalists. Also in the UK, Israeli slave Kama spoke about his decision to allow American troops to use British soil to launch strikes on Iran. This would be the focus of my video tonight, so please stay tuned. So, Pete Hegseth has spoken to members of the US media to explain why American and Israeli terrorists decided to attack a sovereign country without any provocation. His reasons to justify the illegal invasion of a sovereign country changed more rapidly than the current situation in the Middle East. So, up until now, we were led to believe that Iran was just a week away from acquiring nuclear bomb. For more than 40 years, the Israelis and their Western poodles pushed this narrative. Iran was just a week away from developing nuclear weapons for more than 40 years. Even Trump's Jewish envoy Steve Witkoff said this last week, and I even joked about it, saying that Iran may be able to achieve a nuclear bomb by this Monday, which is today, but that didn't happen. So Iran has never had any intention to build nuclear bombs, and the campaign against this country was based on pure lies. So today, Pete Hegseth started his press conference by saying that American terrorists joined Israeli terrorists to attack Iran in violation of international law because for 47 years, Iran launched a savage and one-sided war against America. But it was so bad that the world never came to know about it. For 47 long years, the expansionist and Islamist regime in Tehran has waged a savage, one-sided war against America. They didn't always declare it openly. Oh, they didn't declare it because they were declaring it in their own minds and perhaps whispering in the ears of American lunatics. I mean, these are the people who get to decide the future of the country and lives of country's troops. Just imagine this guy literally deciding if a person would get to stay with his loved ones in the US, or he or she should be used as pawns to fulfill the sick agenda of Donald Trump and war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. But this clown Hegseth wasn't done yet. He said the US didn't start this war. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. But didn't his boss, himself, a genocidal maniac, released 2 videos since Saturday to announce the launch of an illegal invasion of Iran? A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Now, what this guy said next should worry you. These human devils are never guided by principles or logic or real threat perception to resort to military attacks. It seems these sickos sat down in a dingy room over some cheap drugs and then decided that since Trump was the 47th president of America and it's been 47 years since the Islamic Revolution in Iran, so this is a perfect occasion to cause the bloodshed of innocent people, including over 180 children from an elementary school. I'm not making this up. Listen to this idiot. It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. So, was Iran pursuing nuclear weapons even though we were told last year by Trump himself that he had totally and completely obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities? Is that the reason why America attacked Iran? Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Let me say that again. A conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions? Wait, so Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambition? Okay, so Iranians weren't pursuing active nuclear program, but they made missiles and drones to shield their fictional nuclear blackmail ambition. And what does nuclear blackmail ambition even mean? And how do you shield this ambition with missiles and drones that Iran already has in abundance? Did it make any sense to you? Then he said this. Iran had a conventional gun to our head as they tried to lie their way to a nuclear bomb. It almost worked under Obama and his terrible deal, but not under this president. Iran had a conventional gun to America's head as they lied about their nuclear capabilities. Can you imagine this scenario in your head right now to understand just how absurd this idiot was sounding today? Iran was holding a gun to America's head so that the Islamic Republic could lie about their nuclear ambitions. Then he said this when a media representative asked him about his country's objectives in Iran. Well, I laid out the objectives, as did the chairman. They're completely nested. I mean, Iran has an ability to project power against us and our allies in ways that we can't tolerate. So whether that's ballistic missiles and drones, so offensive capabilities, effectively their navy, which would attempt to set other terms and impose different costs, drone capabilities, which we laid out there, and ultimately though this tying it back to Midnight Hammer, the president has been willing to make a deal. You can't have a nuclear bomb. Radical Islamists can't have a nuclear bomb that they wield against the world. He gave them every single opportunity, then we precisely took it away. Okay, so the president said Iran couldn't have nuclear weapons, and then he dropped bombs to take that capability away from Iran? Great. Then what? And even then after that, they didn't have that. They didn't come to the table with a willingness to give it away. Wait, the Trump administration expected Iranians to give away their nuclear capabilities that, according to this clown, Trump had already taken away last year? What are the chances of you landing a job even at your grocery shop with such brain-rotting utterances? But that's a good enough quality to become a powerful cabinet secretary in the US. Hegseth ended his press conference by saying that he, his wife, his family, and his cabinet were relying on prayers for his country's troops to succeed in Iran. First of all, my prayer for them is that I do pray for them. My wife prays for them, our family prays for them, our cabinet prays for them. None of this is done on a whim, having been in their boots, having been in their shoes, having been in their flight suits. I know we think about them with every decision that we make and every recommendation that we make to the President of the United States. Those recommendations are made prayerfully. And when I pray every day for them and for this mission, I pray simply for the biblical wisdom to see what is right and the courage to do it. It's going to take courage to follow through on this. There's going to be a lot of noise. And we pray for that, and we hope all of you do too. We clearly live in a crazy world. Here in the UK, Stallmer justified his decision to allow American troops to use British soil for military strikes against Iran. Some opposed his decision, and others wondered why he had taken so long to arrive at this decision. But the common element that defined most of these MPs was their hatred for the Iranian supreme leader and joy for his assassination. But two voices stood out for me. One was John McDonnell, and other being Jeremy Corbyn. As others have mentioned, that from Iraq to Afghanistan to Libya, I think many of us know the way this goes, and there are responsibilities on all of our shoulders, and the Prime Minister is right. There needs to be a plan. Has the US President shared with him or consulted with him on what the plan is? Because from our experience, we know it's easy. It's easy for politicians to start the war and fire the weapons. It's when the shooting ends, the nightmare begins. Yes, exactly. That's why we need clarity of our role as a country, an independent country, not necessarily swayed by Donald Trump. And can I say to him, when he stood for the leadership of the Labour Party, he very clearly set out that there would be a vote in this House on any decision about military action. Can I ask him to assure us, so that we don't drift into this war as we have in the past, that there will be a vote in this House? Well, can I thank him in his right to urge caution? History teaches us that, and that is why it's important not only that there's a lawful basis, but there is a plan that is viable and thought through. And obviously we've had discussions at all levels with the US in relation to that. In relation to the decision I took yesterday, I'm very clear what the lawful basis is and what the plan in relation to protection of our nationals is. On the question he raises about a vote, that is of course a vote on offensive action, deploying our troops or military country. And that is not this situation. Jeremy Corbyn. Thank you, Madame Deputy Speaker. Last Friday, the talks in Geneva were apparently making good progress, and there was a hope there was going to be some kind of agreement between the United States and Iran. 12 hours later, President Trump ordered attacks on Iran, the first victims of which were a group of school children attending school in the morning. They in no way can be held responsible for anything in Iran, human rights abuses, or anything else. In his statement, it's unclear to me under what circumstances U.S. forces will be allowed to use RAF bases. Can they use bases in this country to attack Iran? Can they use RAF Accretier for that? And are we, this country, sharing information with the US to further their war aims against Iran? Or could we not instead adopt a stance of trying to bring about an immediate ceasefire in order to prevent further dreadful loss of life across every country in the whole region, and the danger of this escalating into a semi-global conflict? The uses of the basis for collective self-defense of our allies and to protect British nationals, something I'm sure he would agree with. And you specifically to take out the ability of Iran to launch the strikes that are currently going into allied countries and putting our EU nationals at risk. Can I be clear that we are not using Cyprus for this purpose? Meanwhile, Israeli and American terrorists have continued to hit civilian targets to massacre innocent people. More than 500 civilians, including 180 plus girls from an elementary school, have already fallen victim to the joint savagery of the Israeli and Americans. That's it for me. I shall be back with more updates on this rapidly changing situation in the Middle East. In the meantime, thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.